It was the kind of sunny April morning that made everything feel lighter. The chirping birds outside the window, the warm breeze brushing through the curtains, and the hum of coffee brewing in the kitchen, everything felt normal. But inside me, there was a storm brewing. My son Ethan was turning 13, and for weeks, I had been trying to come up with the perfect way to celebrate it. As a single mom, I always tried to overcompensate for things he missed after his father and I divorced 4 years ago. But this birthday, he insisted on something different. No party, no video games, no fancy dinner. He just said, "I want to tell you my wish on the day. No gifts. Just a promise that you'll listen." So, here I was, trying to stay calm, sipping coffee, wondering what kind of birthday wish would be important enough for a 13-year-old to turn down presents. I'd asked him if he wanted a new phone, a trip to the arcade, or even a small gathering with friends, but he kept saying no. He was quiet, reserved, and often retreated into his room, especially after school. But I'd chalked that up to adolescence. Now, I wasn't so sure. After preparing his favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with whipped cream, I called him down. He shuffled into the kitchen wearing pajama pants and a faded hoodie, rubbing the sleep from his eyes but smiling when he saw the pancakes. "Thanks, Mom," he said, sitting down. I ruffled his hair and sat across from him, watching him eat, my heart swelling with love and curiosity. We didn't talk much during breakfast. He kept glancing up at me, as though he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. When we finished, he looked at me with those soft green eyes that were a mirror of his father's and said, "Can we go to the park?" "Just you and me." I agreed instantly. It was a place he loved as a little boy, old swings, a small pond, and enough quiet that you could hear your own thoughts. We arrived around noon. The sun was overhead, casting dappled shadows from the trees onto the walking trail. Ethan walked ahead a little, kicking stones, and then sat down on our usual bench near the pond. I sat next to him, and we stared at the ducks gliding across the water for a moment before he finally spoke. "I know you've been worried about me lately," he said without looking at me. "You probably think I'm hiding something." "I just want you to be happy, honey," I replied gently. "Whatever it is, you can tell me." He turned to me then, his face serious, more mature than it should be for someone his age. "My birthday wish is for you to promise me you'll listen to everything I say. No interruptions. No trying to fix it. Just listen." A cold rush of anticipation ran down my spine, but I nodded. "I promise." He took a deep breath. "I think I'm different, Mom. Not in a bad way. Just, not like everyone else." I felt my throat tighten, but I kept my promise. I didn't speak. I've always liked things other kids didn't. I like being alone more than being with friends. I don't get jokes right away. Loud noises make me panic. I memorize things fast, but I don't always know what people mean when they say something with a different tone. I've known this for a while. I just didn't know how to say it. I listened, heart pounding, unsure where this was going but also certain it was important. "I think I'm on the spectrum," he said quietly. "Autism spectrum. I've read about it. A lot. And I feel like it explains so much about me." Tears welled up in my eyes, not because I was sad or scared, but because I saw how brave he was. "Ethan," I started, but he raised his hand gently. "You promised to listen." I nodded again. "I don't want this to change how you see me. I don't want it to mean I can't do stuff. I just want you to understand why sometimes I shut down or why I freak out at birthday parties or why I don't have a ton of friends. I'm not broken. I'm just wired differently." I felt every word like a weight on my chest and a burst of pride in my heart. He wasn't asking for pity. He wasn't even asking for help. He just wanted to be heard. Truly heard. He continued. "I've read stories. Watched videos. And it made me realize how many kids go years without being diagnosed or understood. Some people get bullied. Some even get punished for being too different. I'm lucky, I guess. You never made me feel weird. But I still felt alone. A lot." I reached for his hand, and he let me hold it. His voice trembled, but he pushed on. "So my birthday wish is, I want us to go see someone. A doctor. Someone who can help confirm it. Not because I want a label. but because maybe it'll help us understand each other more. Help me be the best version of me. For a moment, I was completely speechless. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because anything I could say in that moment felt so small compared to his honesty and courage. I squeezed his hand and pulled him into a hug. "You are already the best version of you," I whispered. "But if that's your wish, then of course. We'll find someone who can help." He clung to me tightly, and I realized then just how heavy this had been on his shoulders. My 13-year-old boy had spent months, maybe even years, trying to understand himself without burdening me. And now, on the one day he could ask for anything in the world, all he wanted was understanding. We sat on that bench for a while, not saying much more, just watching the pond and listening to the soft rustle of the trees. When we got home later, he was lighter. He laughed more, played a little music on his keyboard, and even asked for pizza with extra cheese. We didn't talk about his wish again that day, but it didn't need to be repeated. It was already in motion. The following week, I reached out to a pediatric neurologist and a local support group. We booked an assessment with a specialist, and I started reading everything I could about autism. The more I read, the more I saw the beautiful patterns of Ethan's personality fit into this broader, incredible spectrum of human experience. Not broken. Just different. As the months passed, Ethan and I grew closer. He trusted me with more of his thoughts, and I tried to meet him where he was. We went to therapy sessions together, and I saw the same fire in him, his curiosity, his unique way of seeing the world, his dry sense of humor that sometimes caught me off guard but always made me smile. That birthday changed everything, but not in a sad way. It changed things in the way an honest conversation can make you finally feel seen. Ethan's diagnosis did come back confirming his place on the spectrum, but it wasn't a label to us. It was a lens, a clearer way to see the incredible boy I already knew and loved. One evening, 6 months after that pivotal birthday, we were watching a documentary about famous people on the spectrum. When it ended, Ethan turned to me and said, "You know, I used to think I had to hide parts of myself to be accepted. But now I think being different might be my superpower." I couldn't help but smile. It always was. His birthday wish had left me speechless that day, not because it was shocking, but because it showed me the strength, intelligence, and maturity my son had developed all on his own. I realized then that sometimes, the most powerful gifts don't come wrapped in paper or tied with a bow. Sometimes, they come in the form of a child's voice, trembling but brave, asking only to be heard. And I will never stop listening.